That situation happened. I'm like, all right, cool, we move on. And then when we couldn't, I was like, huh?
At first, it looked like Draymond Green and Jordan Poole had put their beef behind them. But now, new fight footage has come out, and it changes everything, especially when it comes to Steve Kerr's role. For more than 2 years, everyone thought they knew the story of Draymond punching Poole during that October 5, 2022 practice. We saw the TMZ video, heard the apologies, and followed the drama. But new evidence tells a very different story, one that points to Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr playing a shocking part in it all. According to resurfaced clips and insider accounts, Kerr may have actually set Poole up, encouraging him to confront Draymond while knowing how Draymond might react. Just like when Kerr himself was punched by Michael Jordan years ago, this situation wasn't about coaching, it looks more like deliberate manipulation, with Kerr putting his own agenda above the well-being of his players.
Age 33, 34, 35, I still learn those lessons. That situation happened. I'm like, all right, cool, we move on. And then when we couldn't, I was like, huh? And for a while, it made me think like, man.
The new timeline shows a pattern of intimidation and manipulation that makes Game of Thrones look tame. It actually started way before anyone thought. Back in November 2021, during a timeout against the Timberwolves, Draymond Green allegedly told Jordan Poole, "I'ma beat you up. I'll mess you up." But things got darker later. According to shocking new claims, Steve Kerr, the same coach who was once punched by Michael Jordan, knew exactly how to stir things up. After the Warriors' 2022 preseason trip to Japan, when Green was already criticizing Poole for not keeping up in scrimmages, Kerr made his move. Instead of calming things down, Kerr pulled Poole aside and told him, "Stand up for yourself. Be a man." Those words weren't guidance, they were fuel. Kerr, having once gone through the pain of being hit by a teammate, essentially pushed Poole into triggering the exact reaction that would end his Warriors career.
The Draymond situation, he apologized and professional. We plan on handling ourselves that way. We're here to play basketball, and everybody in the locker room and on our team knows what it takes to win a championship.
What happened next played out like a Shakespearean tragedy with a Machiavellian twist. Fueled by his coach's words and boosted by a scrimmage where he finally outshined the veterans, Jordan Poole walked into the next practice with new confidence. When Draymond kept up his verbal jabs, Poole fired back with the line that would change everything. "You know what it is, Draymond. You're an expensive backpack for 30. The insult was sharp and calculated. Poole wasn't just calling Draymond a role player, he was saying Green was nothing more than an accessory carried by Steph Curry, whose jersey number is 30. For a proud defender like Draymond, whose identity was built on being essential to the Warriors' success, it was the ultimate psychological blow. Draymond's reaction was immediate and brutal. The leaked TMZ video captured it all, Draymond barking insults, Poole pushing back, and then the infamous right hook that shook the NBA. But here's where the story gets even messier. Draymond later jumped on social media to deny the backpack insult, posting 6 cap emojis to call the rumor fake. Still, insiders close to the situation insist there's more truth to the timeline than Draymond wants to admit.
I watched the video, I'm looking at the video, I'm like, yo, this looks awful. Like, this looks even worse than I thought it was. It's pathetic. No, and then I had to take a step back.
The fallout from Kerr's actions goes way beyond one practice fight. As the coach, he knew the psychology of his players better than anyone, yet instead of protecting team chemistry, he used that knowledge against them. By pushing Poole to stand up to Green, Kerr knowingly played with fire. He understood Draymond's history of volatility and intimidation, but still set the stage for a blow-up that could only end badly. The betrayal becomes even darker when you consider the timing. Poole was about to sign his contract extension, seen as the future of the Warriors' two-timeline plan. Draymond, on the other hand, was unsure about his own deal and future with the team. Kerr had to know that stirring up this conflict at such a sensitive moment was like lighting a match in a room full of gasoline.
I think in the very first few minutes, or first few or 10 or whatever, I think you're initially upset, pissed off, which is why you have the reaction you have. And so I think in the first minutes, just upset, like kind of not thinking about much except for what just happened.
The picture that emerges from this new information paints Kerr as a master manipulator who knew exactly how to pit his players against each other. He understood Draymond's triggers, challenges to his authority, doubts about his value, and especially any hint that he was just riding Steph Curry's coattails. At the same time, he knew Poole's insecurities, his hunger to earn respect from the veterans, his need to prove himself, and his rising confidence after becoming a key piece of a championship team. By stepping in and telling Poole to be a man, Kerr didn't diffuse the tension, he amplified it. He set up the perfect storm of ego, pride, and toxic competitiveness that was bound to explode. Even Draymond's later comments, where he admitted he was still learning these lessons well into his 30s, suggest that he, too, realizes he was manipulated into reacting in a way that went against his better judgment.
One of those fights where you come back and you're great buddies.
This is a bigger story than anyone wants to admit.
If I were him and I did that, I would say, you know what? I don't even deserve to be at ring 9.
What's really disturbing about this situation is how easily team chemistry can be used as a tool by those in power. Coach Kerr didn't just support Draymond's actions by chance, it seemed like a planned move, putting some hidden goal ahead of the team's well-being and unity. Whether it was about contracts, control, or just a bad call, the result was the collapse of what could have been another championship season. This moment of manipulation led to a loss of trust and completely changed the futures of both Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. The punch wasn't the end, it was just the start of the downfall. Afterward, things fell apart. When the video of the punch leaked on October 7, 2022, it didn't just show a fight, it revealed a broken and toxic team environment under the surface of what once looked like a perfect culture. Draymond, a key leader, ended up attacking a young teammate he should have been guiding. Poole, a rising star, was left hurt, physically and emotionally, and their relationship was damaged beyond repair. What should have been a strong, united team aiming for another title became a group filled with tension and resentment.
There's a lot of trust in the fabric of our team, who we are.
It's for us to handle, privately.
I never once thought no one would hear about it. Nothing stays in-house these days. Everything gets to the media.
What happened next was all about saving face, but it showed just how broken things really were inside the team. Draymond Green stepped away from the team on October 8, but it seemed more like a planned PR move than real punishment. The Warriors chose to fine him instead of suspending him, which made it clear they cared more about keeping their chances of winning a championship than about how Jordan Poole was doing after being punched by a teammate. The mind games didn't stop after the punch either. Draymond's public apologies felt half-hearted and even a bit defensive, like he saw himself as the one who was wronged. One of his comments, about people seeing one of his worst moments, made it seem like he was the victim, completely ignoring the fact that Poole was the one who had actually been hurt, both physically and emotionally, by someone he had looked up to.
To be totally honest with you, I never really knew how much it blew up, because I don't spend much time searching Instagram or looking through comments. I don't spend much time, I don't really read many tweets at all.
The punch had an immediate and damaging effect on the team's chemistry, and it was obvious to everyone. Coach Steve Kerr later admitted the season was extremely hard and lacked the joy that had defined their past championship runs. The locker room became tense and uncomfortable, every interaction felt awkward and watched closely for signs of hidden anger or fake peace. Jordan Poole handled the situation with surprising maturity for his age. When he said they were there to win a championship, it showed how professional and focused he was, even though he had been put in a terrible situation. He was expected to just move on after being punched and act like everything was fine, all while playing next to someone who had crossed a serious line just because their ego was hurt.
We're in Washington now. Playing with Kuz, great.
The deeper sadness of what Draymond Green did becomes more obvious when looking at what he later said about it. In July 2023, Green admitted, "I don't just hit people," showing that the punch wasn't just a random mistake, it came after months of tension and escalating behavior. It wasn't just a one-time bad decision, it was the result of a toxic situation that the coaching staff allowed, focusing more on winning than treating people with basic respect. What's most troubling is that Green seemed surprised that Jordan Poole couldn't just move on from being punched. He expected Poole to handle it like he would, without realizing that everyone deals with trauma and betrayal differently. Green's background gave him certain ways of coping, but it also made him blind to how badly his actions had hurt a younger teammate who wasn't equipped to deal with that kind of abuse.
I feel both of their sentiment about that. Let me start with Draymond. As a man, when you know you f***ed up and you put the work in to get back and
The video's wild.
The failed attempts to fix the situation showed just how badly the trust had been broken. Reports said Coach Kerr asked Draymond Green to take Jordan Poole out to dinner to make peace, but Green refused, showing that his pride was still more important than truly making things right. At this point, it wasn't just about the punch. It was about Green not owning up to the toxic behavior that led to it in the first place. As the season went on, the emotional toll on Poole became more obvious. Even after signing a big contract extension, his performance dropped. The constant tension and emotional stress affected his confidence and connection with teammates. He ended up feeling alone, stuck between a coaching staff that had used him to push their own agenda and veteran players who cared more about protecting their image than fixing the toxic culture they had helped create.
I'm sorry. On the flip side of that, ain't no punching me in my...
The clearest signs of Draymond Green's regret didn't come from what he said in public, but from what he privately admitted he had lost. In June 2024, he shared that not being able to celebrate Jordan Poole's contract extension was one of the worst feelings he had experienced, showing he understood how much his actions had ruined what should have been a happy moment for the whole team. Over time, his repeated apologies, including one in January 2025 asking everyone to move on, showed he was starting to realize the lasting damage he had caused. Not just to Poole, but to his own reputation. With each apology, he seemed more sincere, like the full weight of what he had lost was finally sinking in and breaking through his usual defenses.
Bro, nigga,
it's easier that the video doesn't come out, though.
Nah.
The collapse of the Warriors' championship culture was about more than just losing two players who couldn't get along. It showed a total failure of leadership across the board. From Coach Kerr's manipulative choices, to Draymond Green's violent actions, to the team valuing winning over basic respect and human decency, that strength in numbers motto that once defined their success became painfully ironic. Relationships broke down, players asked to be traded, and the team fell apart. What's most heartbreaking is that all of this could have been avoided. Green later admitted he was still learning these lessons in his 30s, which shows that with the right support and leadership earlier on, he might have developed the emotional maturity to handle conflict without violence. But instead, he was constantly rewarded for what he did on the court, while his behavior off the court was ignored, creating a situation that eventually destroyed the very culture the team had worked so hard to build.
Myself as the leader of this team, it's on me to make sure we're headed that way. Time clarity, you know what it is, I know what it is. Continue to move forward, put it behind us.
As the season went on and the Warriors' championship dreams fell apart under the weight of broken trust and unresolved issues, it became clear that Draymond Green's regret wasn't just about the punch, it was about all the poor decisions that led up to it. Over time, he began to truly understand the damage he had caused and made more sincere efforts to make things right. But by then, it was too late. The chance to fix things in Golden State was gone. Green was traded to Washington, along with Jordan Poole, whose hopes of winning a championship with the Warriors had already been shattered. When the TMZ video of the punch was released, the reaction was immediate and harsh. It didn't just spark basketball debates, it triggered deeper conversations about workplace violence, power, and the toxic masculinity that still exists in professional sports. The fallout exposed just how much more was at stake than a single fight. It was about leadership, accountability, and a culture that had lost its way.